Good morning. Welcome. Today is Thursday, June 18th. How's it going? My name is Angela. I am a front-end developer and software engineer in St. Paul, Minnesota. How are we doing? It's a beautiful day in St. Paul, Minnesota. The sun is shining. It's been kind of rainy the last few days, but the grass is green and yeah, I don't know. The weather is mild and it's just really nice. And I am constantly surprised by how the older I get, the more the weather affects my mood. So when the weather is nice, it just feels really good. It feels really good. So how is everybody doing? I decided that I would like to do like a little 4-day sprint so we can continue to work on this project called Practice Layouts. So if you're new here, this is a vanilla channel. I just do vanilla HTML, CSS, and JavaScript on this channel. And the reason for that is because in a world of frameworks and libraries, I just don't want vanilla to get lost in all of the hubbub, especially with AI. I want people to remember that vanilla is still important. HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, those are the three things that the browser renders natively. And in my opinion, as front-end developers, it serves us if we remember a little bit of vanilla. Plus, I just really enjoy it. I think it's a lot of fun. I enjoy practicing vanilla. It's done wonders for my own personal development. Yeah, and it's a fun little niche here on YouTube where I don't think there are a lot of people practicing vanilla. Now, with that being said, I do really want to start promoting channel memberships. So I have a membership on this channel. I'm calling this little group the Trad Coders. This is for people who still enjoy traditional development, whatever that is. I'm trying to keep it affordable. It's $4.99 a month. If you're interested in joining, the members only content that I'm thinking I'm going to start doing is frameworks and libraries. I know, scandalous. After 2 years of saying no frameworks, no libraries, I actually think that this would be great members only content. And I'll be perfectly honest, I've never used React before, so maybe now is a great time to finally learn React, use some libraries, see what all the fuss is about after all these years of doing everything from scratch by hand. So if you're interested in that type of content and you want to support the channel by becoming a member, that's one way to do it. And you can look forward to some members only content, both streams and dedicated content coming soon. So one thing I'm thinking that would be really fun would be related to the practice JavaScript videos that I've been making. I haven't made any in a couple of weeks because I have my hands full right now with some client work, but I'm on the tail end of this contract. And I think that I'm going to start doing some TypeScript, practice TypeScript videos. So along the same lines as the practice JavaScript. So there's more to come. There's more to come. I have lots of ideas. As usual, I have a million ideas and there are only so many hours in the day. In the meantime, there is another way that you can support the channel. It's by liking and subscribing. So please, if you have not yet, would you please like this video? It helps the algorithm, helps me get this pushed out to more people who might be interested in this type of content. Subscribe if you're new here. I generally stream on Saturdays and Sundays at 10:30 a.m. Central Time. For several months, 4 or 5 months, I was also streaming every Tuesday and Thursday. I'm not doing Tuesdays and Thursdays anymore as a part of the normal schedule. I'm just sticking with weekends as part of the normal schedule, but like today and tomorrow, and I will be here tomorrow as well, I like to do these little 4 or 5 day sprints. So at least once a month, you'll see me doing a few extra days during the week, kind of a push to get through a project, things like that. As for projects, the things that we work on here, I have this collection of mockups, which actually, let me pull up the mockups. I haven't pulled it up yet. I have a collection of mockups from my freelancing days. From about 2013 to 2018 was when I did most of my freelancing. I mean, I've never stopped freelancing. But that was kind of like my heyday. That was like that was when I did the bulk of my freelancing. And what I used to do as a freelancer, because design has been the hardest thing for me, I've deeply wanted to be a good designer. It is so much work. Actually, writing front end code came so much easier to me than actually doing any of the designs. So, what I used to do is, and I would mostly use Theme Forest. I think you could just Google it and you could find any number of marketplaces to buy these types of things. These are just Photoshop mockups, layered PSDs. I call these low res because they really don't have a color palette. They don't have images. They're a structure, right? So I would go through my dozens and dozens of layered Photoshop files, and I would find a structure that I thought was aligned with the clients that I was working with, their content, their images, their branding, and I could use something like this and build an entire site. A lot of these are a bit dated. They look like they're a decade old, which is about how old they are. I was also in this part of my career, I was primarily a WordPress developer. So I was building custom WordPress themes, which is very blog centric. And a lot of my clients had blogs. So there's that. So that's, if you're looking for an explanation for why they look like they're about 10 years old, that's why. Doesn't mean they're not still great resources for practicing. That's the whole point of what we're doing here in these streams. It's practicing. If you want to be better at something, you need to practice. Courses introduce you to a new topic, tutorials answer specific questions. The real learning, the real experience comes from actually practicing and building things. So it doesn't really matter how old the design is or how old the mock-up is. The point is to practice and get good at your skills. And the reason I do it with vanilla is because I want people to see, especially beginners. I feel like I can't imagine being a beginner right now with all of the choices. Everything that we get thrown at us, all the roadmaps of what a front-end developer in particular needs to know. It's absolutely overwhelming. And I look at these big roadmaps, and I'm lucky if I know 30% of what goes on that roadmap. And I've been a developer now for 13 years, and I've had a fantastic career. You don't need to know all of those things to be good at front-end development. You just don't. Not every front-end developer does all of those things every single day. Okay, so my point is this. What was my point? My point is that when you're new and you're overwhelmed by all of the choices that exist, I want people to get into a feedback loop. Write code, refresh browser, see result in the browser. That's the feedback loop that I want you to have. And you don't need package managers or Node or a framework or a library to do any of those things. You just need a text editor, index.html, style.css, script.js. You can do all of those things without having to make all of those choices, and you can get an instant feedback loop of whether or not you even like front end. Now, I would never suggest, there's something on my face, it's kind of itchy. I would never suggest that you only need to know vanilla in order to get a job. I would never suggest that. That's crazy. Of course, you need to understand frameworks and libraries. But I can tell you that knowing a little bit of vanilla is going to take you far. And there will be organizations that need people who still understand how to do basic things. Legacy code is still a thing, still exists. And we still need developers to work on legacy code bases. That's just a fact. Okay, so there's that. Let's say good morning to a few people in the chat. Gogo Elmo is here, Malik Robinson. He is our mod in the chat. Dante is here right on time. Dante, welcome. Dante found us during the 30 days of vanilla JavaScript. He has been a great addition to the chat. I love having you. And we also have Hard Choice. I love that. That's a great username. Hello, Hard Choice. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. And he just says hello. He says hello, mom. I think he means hello, ma'am. please don't call me mom. I'm not your mother. You know I'm not your mother. You can just call me Angela. That's fine. Monique Robinson is also here. Monique is also a mod in the chat, and she says, greetings to all. Okay, are we ready? So here's what I got planned for today. Let's get these in the order that I like. You know what? I don't think I think I copied the description from a previous stream, so let me grab this and put the link in the chat, and I will make sure I get that updated after we're done. If you want to take a look at the GitHub repository, everything that I do here is open source, personal use, commercial use. I think it's an MIT license. You don't even have to give me credit. I would appreciate it, but you don't have to. This is my way of giving back to the front end community, because when I was getting started in 2009, 2010, the resources that are available now just did not exist then. So 2009 was, holy cow, 17 years ago. Yeah, the resources that we have now did not exist then. And this is my way of just giving back to a community that I think has been so incredibly generous. I would not be here if it weren't for the people who were freely sharing their ideas and their work online for me to learn from. And I've always wanted to be able to give back to that community, and this is my way of doing it. It's to freely share my knowledge, show people how I think and work through problems, how I start projects, how I finish projects, and then to make these templates available for other people who might be able to use them in their own work. So there's that. One moment, please. And Ehabmo, I think I'm saying that correctly, is here in the chat and says hello, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Okay, so we really need to get cracking on our responsive styles today. A couple things that we need to change though. First of all, the navigation. I am going to add a home button, and then we're just going to do about and contact. I'm going to take out the me. So let's update our navigation. Where are you? I scroll past you. Where are we here? So this will be home, about, and contact. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so here's the other thing. We spent a lot of time last weekend on Sunday, like styling this input and doing this transition for the label. And we're not scrapping this at all. But what I realized after the stream last week when we were working on this is we don't need a submit button, because we are going to build search. So we are going to build search, but the search is really going to be more of a filter. You're not going to submit your search inquiry and actually go to another page with search results. It's going to be a filter that filters out it's going to be a filter that filters the results from our JSON or our API. So we don't really need this button. But I still want to have this little icon here. It's just not going to be a button. So let's fix that. And that won't be a difficult fix, but let's take out this button. So it's really just going to be decorative. And that's totally normal when you have a search input that acts as a filter and not, and you don't actually have an action for the form element. That's a totally normal experience that you are filtering with not actually using an endpoint for search. Let's get our styles up here. So here's our search form, search input, search icon. So I think we don't need the padding. I think we can just combine some of this. And this is going to change because search icon was the class for the button. So we can change this now to search form SVG. So we'll see how off this is. It's just a little off, not too bad. So I think we just want this to be 0. And I think we just want to, I mean, technically it's in the middle. We just want to scooch it down a little bit. So maybe I wonder if we just didn't do the transform. No, we need a little bit of a transform, just not 50%. What do we think? I think even 25% might be too much. Yeah, that looks good. That looks great. So now here's our keyboard experience. And if we actually started typing here, we get this little icon. We can move this a little closer since this isn't a button anymore. We move this, really you move this over by adding padding to the input. But we don't need so much padding anymore because like the SVG is not active. It doesn't do anything, right? And we could also make sure, just to be sure, that the that when people are clicking inside the input, the SVG doesn't get in the way. We could say pointer events none. And that just makes sure that people can click anywhere inside. So without pointer events, so here we are, we're activating this with the focus, right? But what if you click right over top of that SVG? The SVG is blocking the cursor, and we don't want that. The SVG is blocking the cursor. So if we have pointer events none, now we can click right over top of that SVG and it doesn't block anything. So if you're adding decorative SVGs to your inputs, your selects, things like that, that's such a common thing. And the normal instinct for a lot of people, especially if this was like an arrow or like a caret over top of a select, and you came over and people were clicking right on that, it blocks anything from happening. It blocks the activity, the act of the focus, whatever you want to call it, on the element. Just say pointer events none on the SVG, and that will, you'll get your access to that form element again. So this looks great. Easy fix. Love it. Okay. And Pixel Hacker Official is here and says, hello again. Hello, Pixel Hacker Official. Thanks for coming to hang out. We appreciate you. This still feels a little low to me. Let's smudge it up a little bit. There. What do we think? I know, I have to stop. It's fussy. I have a tendency to let things get fussy. I think that looks good. The other change I want to make here is I just don't love the shade of blue of this footer. So this is like the second to the darkest. We've got navy and light navy. I know this is the light navy, so let's go with navy. I just don't like it. Yeah, let's just go with navy. And then I know there was a border right here. Now that's on the icons. This. I know we tried this. Yeah. We could just go with blue. This color blue looks good. Yeah, that's what we're using here. What if we tried gold? Hmm. What else can we try? Our mid gray. How does that look against navy? Actually, it doesn't look too bad. And then what if we made this gray? Oh, but that is our primary. No, we must have primary logo colors down here. Don't we? It must be this. No. I don't know. Why is this so hard for me? Why is this? So we have our blue. We also have our light blue. Let's just stick with blue. We just gotta stick with something. We're just gonna stick with that. Okay. And then the other thing that we need to do here, obviously, is we need to make sure our links are also white. They've got an underline, which signifies that they are links. So we'll just do this. Color. White. Oh, we're gonna have to do the ugh, you're gonna make me do the whole thing. Fine. Focus. Hover. Active. Next decoration color is transparent, and we will transition that. go. Well, for better or worse, that's it. I don't love it. I love blue, but I'm not. Oh, did we lose our transition here too? Yes, we did. Why? Probably because I put this first. No, did we lose that transition last time? Stop. Oh, I didn't do the transition. There we go. I mean, it's okay. I don't love it. I think it looks weird. And I also think that this is a little too big. I think eventually we're gonna need to clamp it, but I'm not quite there yet. That looks a lot better. Yeah. Okay. Well, the other thing that I was thinking is if our top 3 hero items are going to be if it's going to be like a last in first out type situation, what does this link to? Because for everything else, we've got a link to the demo site, the GitHub repository, and the YouTube video if one exists. So what does this link to? The GitHub repository or the demo site? Which just made me think, do we need to add some links here? So maybe I think that the main link should be, and we could put some like title text here on hover, right? Which would also help with accessibility. But I feel like we need to have additional links down here, for sure GitHub, because everything has a GitHub repository. And then the optional link would be YouTube, because not every video has a YouTube project video. Not every project or site has a YouTube project video. A lot do, but not everyone does. So let's add an extra link here. So here's our header. Here's our navigation. Here's the heroes. So I think it would go here. And I'm just going to grab these. And they're basically, well, we did a good job styling these. We just need to change the color. So I'm going to say that it's not going to be a demo site link necessarily. It would be GitHub or YouTube. So this is easy to adjust for the hero. And let's make sure we have this for all of them. Yeah, I for once in my life, I did a good job picking a class name and styling this. This obviously makes it incredibly easy. So these are project links that we're just going to style for the hero. Well, let's find, here's project links. This is now kind of like a global style, right? So let's move it up to the top. Here's buttons, here's some links. We'll put it right here. Project links. And we're just going to change the link color to go with the hero. So where's our hero? Here's our hero. Whoops. Hero. Project links. Anchor element. The color is white. And we're going to have to change the text decoration also. We're going to have to do the exact same thing here that we just did in the footer. Text decoration color is also white. And we're going to have to transition that. Let's focus. Hover. Active. And this is going to be transparent. There we go. And then let's change this little bullet. We just need to change this. And this, I bet we could do like the mid-gray. Oh, can hardly see it. I guess we just have to go with gray. And then we need to adjust the margin here, because right now we only have margin on the bottom, but we clearly need to even that out a little bit. So this is going to be the secondary heading related to just the hero. Oh, whoops. And we need to say hero here for this. going to be the hero. Secondary heading. And we're going to say margin, like maybe 0.5 rems on the top and bottom, none on the left and right. Oh, I think we just need a little bit more on the bottom. 7.5. There we go. There. And then for these, we just need to make sure. So here's the, oh, and I did put spans in here. We want to make sure that this link is saying exactly what the user is going to do. They're going to open. So this would be like open adventure begins demo site. This would be open demo site. We probably don't need open. We could just say what it is, right? And then we could probably put like a title attribute in here. Title. We would probably also want this to be target blank. Target blank. So now at least that helps with accessibility. It does help with the desktop experience. And now at least we're getting in all of our links for this hero section. So I like it. I like it because I was thinking, do I need to make this entire card clickable? Do I need to make this entire blue section clickable? Because I can just hear it. I can just hear like a director or somebody on a leadership team or a project manager or whoever asking me to do that. And I was going to do that. And then I was thinking, hey, wait a second. If the hero is going to be the last 3 projects that we finished, and then starting here with the body, like just the main content, if this is going to pick up, like this would basically be index 0, 1, 2, 3, right? Or the 4th item, then don't these top items also need to be able to link to one of possibly 3 places? 2 for sure, possibly 3. And then I was like, oh, this is actually the perfect, because I hate it when I have to make entire big blocks or entire things clickable. I just don't like that. I don't like making a big, huge area hot. And I get why people do like that. I just personally don't like it. I like having a thing to click on. That's what I like. I like having a thing to click on. So, realizing that I needed to include additional links, I was like, oh, thank God I don't have to make the whole thing hot. I don't have to make the whole thing one big clickable entity. So, yeah. Okay. Game Clips is here and says hello to all. Hello, welcome. Okay, so let's commit this and then start fresh with our mobile styles. That's what we're going to start with, the header. So finishing desktop styles. Okay, there we go. Okay, so here's my idea for how I think we should be building this header. So the navigation is going to kind of follow the traditional pattern of how I like to make responsive headers. If you've been here for any length of time, you already know how I like to do things like that. Let me see here. You know how I like to do that. So we're going to hide this navigation. I'm also going to hide the social media icons because we're basically repeating the social media icons in the footer. So I don't think that it's a big deal to hide these on mobile. I do have a mock-up here of how this navigation is supposed to look for mobile, even though they're showing it on a desktop design. And fun fact, we've actually used this in other projects, so this will not be particularly difficult. I am not going to repeat the copyright information inside the navigation drawer. I've done that before. I'm not going to repeat the social media icons inside the navigation drawer. I've done that before too. I just don't think it's necessary. So then this site would have 3 sets of social media icons, two that appear on desktop and 2 that appear on mobile. I just don't think it's necessary. I think it's overkill. We could definitely put practice layouts inside the drawer. Yeah, we could do that. We need to add that, so we can add that now. That's fine. But this is basically what the navigation is going to look like. The flyout drawer for mobile. It's good with that. Okay. What else do I want to do here? So we'll have this, our site name. We should definitely clamp this. So it's nice and squishy. We'll have a mobile menu icon over here on the right. And then what I was thinking is the search could live below so we'll have the logo practice layouts, and then we'll have the social, Angela, stop saying the word social, mobile icon menu to open and close the menu drawer. And then beneath that, we'll have our search, which is really a filter. And then on scroll, we can hide the search. So if you're scrolling down the page, then that search will transition and hide. If you're scrolling back up the page, the search will transition and reveal itself. That's what I'm thinking. Because the search is really a filter, and I want people to be able to easily filter. So I think that that's the best way to deal with that. Yeah. And we'll need a little JavaScript for that. So as you scroll down, it'll add a class, and then we'll be able to use that class. And we did that in our 30 days of vanilla JavaScript. If you weren't here in April, and forgive me if you've looked at this site. What is this down here? What is this gray bar? What is that gray bar? I don't understand what that is. That's weird, right? What was that gray bar? I don't know what that was. That was like in the browser. Okay. Scroll interactions. Yeah, we'll do this. You see how the header scrolls out of sight? So we will do this. We'll do an add event listener for scroll. And then if the window scroll Y is greater than 50, so once we've scrolled 50 pixels, we will add scroll active probably to the body. Otherwise, we'll remove scroll active. And then this specifically was for this button here. So you can see there that that goes away. So we're not going to do that. Oh, this is so the logo doesn't get focus. Got it. Really, it's just this. This is what we need to do right here. Just an event listener to add scroll active, and then that's how we can show and hide that search filter on mobile. So I think this will be really easy. Oh, what was I saying? We did this project in April. I have not finished this UI components page. It is incomplete. I stopped adding to this page after day 20, so I need to finish this. It's mostly complete, but not totally complete. And what's the thing that is glaringly, obviously incomplete? Our toggle. Yeah. The toggle works great on its dedicated page, but I didn't update it yet on the UI components page. So that's on my mental list of things to do. But we're going to come back to this, and we're going to use the scroll interactions from day 14. And we'll refer to this because this is pretty easy. This is not difficult to do. So, okay. One moment. And Game Clips says that they like the search. I think that you're saying that you like the transition, the search background here. Search background is transparent color, black, and there is icon 2. Love it. Beautiful site. Thank you. Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun building this one. I do have to say, I'm enjoying it. So, okay, let's get started. So, how the first step in making something responsive is checking to see how well your desktop design holds up. What are the breakpoints? So the first thing we need to do is we need to clamp this, and that's going to give us a ton of flexibility. I would say minimum we need to be here 1024, and we're not there yet. So if we can clamp our practice layouts, our logo text, that's going to make all the difference in the world, and it's actually going to give us a ton of flexibility. So let's do that first. So what size is this? It is 3.5 rems. Right here. So we'll clamp this. So we know we want that to be 3.5 on desktop. And I'm guessing about usually 1 rem on mobile is fine. And then the in-between size can be, what, maybe 4 VW? I don't know. Every time I have like a little formula in my head for what works, it never seems to work. So right now we're at 4 VW. Now we're at 3.5. There's 4. And you could see there that that's actually, look how much leeway that gives us just doing that. I mean, we easily get down to like 960. That's a great breakpoint, actually. I like 960. Although, does our hero support that? So here's the other thing that I think we'll need to do is let's clamp the padding here in our hero, and let's clamp this text here in our hero. And that's going to give us a lot of flexibility as well. So here's our hero. Our articles, hang on. Yeah, these have 2 rems of padding. So if we clamp this padding and we clamp the H2, that is also going to buy us a lot of time. So let's do that. Which is the meta right here. So we know that this should be 2 rems on desktop. Pretty sure 1 rem on mobile will be fine. And then maybe 3 VW for that middle. No. Okay, let's adjust this. It takes a long time for that. Oh, I guess it does. Okay, well, do we at least get to 960? We do. We're definitely going to need a better solution for these, especially if we have a long title. So we may need to do something earlier for the hero, maybe at 1024. I'm kind of thinking that at 1024, we may want to take, I mean, do we just want to drop these into a column? Oh, you know what we should do is we should also adjust the gap. Let's clamp this gap also. What if this was... I don't think that's... No, I think 2 is better. See, it doesn't switch soon enough. Okay, we'll leave it here. And then let's do the same thing for that gap. It's at least, it'll be consistent then, right? Yeah, that gives us way more flexibility. I kind of think that at 1024, well, I mean, let's try, I kind of want to drop these into a single column at 1024. Let's try that. So that's right here. Let's go to the bottom of our hero section. Make a media query. Max width 1024. And we're really just changing this for the hero. Well, we'll stick with this for now. Hang on, I have debris on my trackpad. It's annoying. Okay. All right. It's all good. We're good. Okay. So at 960, that's going to be our breakpoint for the header and the navigation. So number one, let's make sure that we are here's our navigation drawer, which is position static is the default, right? So we'll say position static. You don't have to put that there, but that's the default. And then do at media. Oops. Max width 960 pixels. Navigation. Position fixed. And it's going to be top 0. It's going to be on the left. I'm going to say negative 300 pixels. We're going to use transform. So we'll do transform, translate on the x-axis. I'm going to just basically give this a baseline value of 0. We're going to call it 0. I'm going to give this a width of 300 pixels. It will still need a max width, though, of 100% if the browser window gets smaller than 300. And we need to give this a height of 100%. I go back and forth on height sometimes. I'm like, should it be 100%? Should it be DVH, which is dynamic viewport height? I'm going with 100%. And we also want to give this some z-index. I'm going to do 3. Just to be on the safe side. So we should not see this now. What's going on here? Whoops. Max width. There we go. It does look weird to have those breakpoints be different. So let's change this to 960. So it all happens at the same time. There, that does look better. Okay, we're also going to hide these social navigation icons at 960. So here's our header. Social navigation. So this is going to be display none, but we have to make sure that we're not also hiding the ones in the footer because these have the same class. Right here, social navigation. So let's make sure our footer social navigation, which with the class footer is more specific, but we just need to say display block. The parent is display flex. The child can be display block. So let's do that first. So we'll say, actually going to do this here. Footer, social navigation, display block. And then we'll come up here. Here's our social navigation. Say at media. Max width, 960. Social navigation. Display, none. And that also hides it from screen readers. And that is just fine. Okay, so now we have a button here for the menu that is display none by default right here. So we want these to be display block for mobile. So we're going to go ahead and put that right here in our media query. Display block. And it's on the other side, which is fine. It's covered up by something. What's it covered up by? Oh, probably the X, right? What's going on? Let's see. Oh, our navigation is overflowing. That's why. Oh, it's overflowing there. That's why. Okay. That's fine. Let's at least get these things in the correct order and then we'll work on that drawer. So, okay. So we changed the order of the H1 and the form. We can change the order back for mobile. Doesn't need to be in that order anymore. So here we have primary logo order 2. And that's a feature of Flexbox, right? So this is our header. And let's do one media query here for the form and the header. So our primary logo and our search form. So search form. Order 2. Primary logo goes back to order. Wait a second. Order 1. Let's switch these around. Okay. And then, oh, I think um, clearly the button is in the wrong place. 1, 2, 3. Why is that? Why is that way over on the side? This is 1. This is 2. Is it because this still has an order of 3, even though it's display none? Could be. So let's take this. Well, it was always order 3 though. It just had to be specified. Can I do something like unset? Why are you way over on the side? There's 1. There's 2. Should I just unset all of these so there's no order? There. That was the key. Just unset all of it. Get us back to normal. Unset does not work in a lot of older browsers, but it works in modern browsers. For a long time, I remember still having to support Internet Explorer 11 before what's their new browser? I can't remember what it's called. Unset didn't work in Internet Explorer 11, but it's been literally years. So, okay, that worked. That's perfect. Okay, we want the search form, however, and we're going to change the styles here for this button. It's just sort of inheriting. Honestly, we could take this button icon class out. Yeah, we can take that out. Same with this. Yeah. This is going to be position absolute, which means now header wrap needs position relative, because that's how we're going to get that positioned absolutely underneath. And you can see here there's navigation items sort of, they're not styled yet, so they're like pushing off canvas. We're going to fix that. Right now, I just want to get this. You can see here we've got a lot of wiggle room. So header wrap needs to be position relative. Right here. Header wrap. Position relative. And then search form. Position absolute. And we're actually going to say top 100%. That just pushes it down to the bottom of the container. We'll do left 0, width 100%. Where are you? Why are you all the way down there? Oh, because I didn't spell this right. There we go. So here's our header wrap. And then here's our search form, which is immediately underneath the wrap. That's perfect. That's exactly what we want. And then we can make our input 100%. We had some very specific width styles for desktop, but we can change that now for mobile. So we'll say search input width 100%. This is going to be one of my better headers. I mean, the number of hours that I've spent working on a header with a search bar, oh my gosh. What a pain in the ass. This is one of my better ones. Thank goodness. Okay, what's going on? And then let's remove the margin on the primary logo. Was that on desktop too? It was. Yeah, we need to get that off of there. So we can just take that off of desktop. I wondered if that looked a little off kilter. Let's see here. Yeah, we can just take that off here. Margin 0. Yeah, oh yeah, that I can tell right away. That looks better. Look at that. That looks way better. So we definitely still have tons of space here. Like we can adjust this spacing clearly. I bet we could clamp that as well. Oh, the hours of my life that I have spent working on mobile headers. It's nice to just finally feel for like one build like I have my shit together. All right. So let's just switch it. I'm not even going to clamp it. I'm just going to say, look how much better that looks. I actually don't think that, I think that practice layouts is actually pretty tiny. I feel like we could actually, where are you? Primary logo. Maybe 1.5. Yeah, look at that. Although, is that enough? Also, look at how much space. I feel like this is a little juicy right there. But I think once we get this, although there's more work to be done. If everything at this point is trivial because we got this far. Oh, there we go. That's how we solve that right there. It just wraps. Beautiful. That can just wrap naturally. I do still think there's lots of space here, and we will refine that, especially if we're going to transition our search out of the way. So, but this is the meat and potatoes of our responsive header. Maybe that could be, let me see here, 1.25. Yeah, actually, I think that looks pretty darn good. I think that's it. 1 1/3 rems right there. I mean, you can't be responsive to nothingness, right? You can't just like boom, all, down to nothing and expect to still have a functional mobile version of a website. But you can still make things work even when they're pretty darn small here. Okay, beautiful, beautiful. Thank God. Thank the Lord. Um, I'm not really a religious or even spiritual lady, but sometimes I'm just so happy that something works. Nice. So now, what's our keyboard experience? So it is going to go from the logo to the search to the navigation. I'm fine with that. I think that that's fine. We'll have to make sure that if we're scrolling and hiding the search, the keyboard navigation is still a good experience if the search is hidden, right? Maybe the focus state is going to have to be the thing that makes it appear again. So we'll just have to make sure that with our CSS, we're accounting for that because we do need the accessibility and the keyboard navigation all to still work. But this is an excellent start. This is the meat and potatoes of making sure that this is working correctly. So let's work now and actually style our drawer. I think that that is a good way to spend the rest of our day. Nice. Oh my gosh. Like when I think about the hours, the days that I've spent trying to make a header responsive. Oh, stressful, very stressful. Oopsies. Sorry. Thank you for letting me know. I was muted. See, Malik isn't here. He had to go to his meeting and he usually tells me right away. I'm so sorry. I don't think you missed anything important. I think it's only been a couple of minutes. I apologize. Thank you for Rivstart in the chat for letting me know that I was muted. Okay. So here's what I was saying. I was talking about the skip nav right here. We don't really need the skip nav. We need to style this for desktop, but we don't really need it for mobile. Mobile by default kind of has a skip nav because we have this mobile button here. And oh, Monique says I was only muted for about a minute. Thank you. We have this mobile button sort of baked in. So mobile experience by default already kind of has a skip nav because that button should always be coming immediately before your navigation, which for us it does. It's the button, it's the skip nav, and then it's the navigation. And the skip nav is supposed to skip the navigation. That's literally what it's supposed to do. So we don't need to show a skip nav for mobile. We only need to show it for desktop. The mobile experience is if somebody were using a screen reader or if they were somehow using a keyboard, but they were seeing the mobile view, they would come to the button, they would learn that the button is to open the menu, and then they make the choice to interact with the button. They can skip the navigation and move on to the next thing by not interacting with the button, by not opening up that drawer. So that's the user experience that we need to keep in mind. We don't need to do both. Also, a skip nav doesn't mean skip the header. So if you've got a lot of stuff in your header, maybe you want to have something that is specifically skip header. And that's okay. If you've got a big header and a big navigation, you can have both. You can give your users both experiences. But skip nav means skip the navigation, not skip the header. So just something to think about. Also, really good questions for ChatGPT or whatever your LLM of choice is. If you're working on a complex layout or you're just new and you're learning about accessibility and keyboard navigation and screen readers, these are great questions to ask ChatGPT, for example, like, hey, I've got this big header, I've got this big navigation, like, do I need to give users the option to skip those things? And it's kind of up to you. Skip nav for sure. I would argue you definitely want to make sure you have a skip nav. So, but like I said, by default, you don't really need it for a mobile experience. Okay. Monique says that she thought I was thinking about something. Yeah. Always deep in thought about something. So, okay. One moment. I won't forget to unmute myself this time. Navigation. So menu active. Where's our navigation? Let's do this. I feel like my head's kind of in the way. There we go. Okay. So here's our navigation. Right here. So when we have menu active, we want that navigation drawer. We're going to use transform, and we know that the width is 300 pixels. A positive number moves something to the right. A negative number moves something to the left. We want to move this drawer 300 pixels to the right. So I'm going to say transform. Translate on the x-axis 300 pixels. So we should see that drawer now. There's our drawer. So now that's open. Let's make sure. This is the overflow that we're seeing. This is display flex, flex flow, row, no wrap. We're just going to change the flex direction to column. Oops. So that's this right here, the main nav, which is the UL, the unordered list, flex direction column. And then again, that's menu active. Well, actually, it doesn't need to be menu active. It can just be the mobile style. Main nav, flex direction, column. There we go. Practically, the CSS practically writes itself at this point. You're really just kind of reverse engineering things. Okay, so now we have this big gap of 3 rems. We're actually going to take that gap out and put kind of a dividing line in between. And we can't really do that with gap. So again, that's on the main nav. So we can do that right here. So we'll say gap 0. And instead I'm going to say padding 0 on the top, 0 on the left and right, 1 rem on the bottom, and then margin 0 on the top, 0 on the left and right, 1 rem on the bottom. And then I'm going to say border, bottom, 3 pixels, dotted, and I'm going to say light blue. Oops. Oh, I did it to the entire UL. I meant to do it to the LIs. So let's do that. Main nav, LI. Want it in between each list item. And we need these to be a width of 100%. Why am I there? We need this to be a width 100%. There we go. And then let's make sure that these anchor elements are, well, these were display, yeah, some of these are display flex, which is fine. So we have some good styles here, right? This is saying display flex if the anchor element has an SVG. So let's do anchor elements display block, and then this is like a condition for if they have an SVG. So we can do main nav, display block. I don't think it will affect anything else. So this is still display flex, but now these are display block. And then I think we can make all of these, I mean, we can make them all text align center. They're getting, the ones that are display flexed are text align center because of the justify content, but the other ones are just text align left by default. So there, we can make everything text align center. And then let's remove this border from the last item. So we'll say main nav, LI, and then we're going to say last of type, border, none. There. This is one of my easier ones. And then we still have the normal styles. Okay, now we have our close menu button. This is going to be so easy. I was ready for an easy one. Can I just say, is that okay to say out loud? I was ready for an easy one. Menu close. I'm going to say margin left auto, and I think that'll just move it right over to the side. Beautiful. And it's already 48 by 48 pixels. And I think we can just change the stroke. Menu close SVG. And we're going to say stroke white. Isn't it nice when things just work? Isn't it nice when things just work? And then I think we also said we're going to put our name inside here. We can do that too. I mean, I don't know. Do we want to? Do we care? I don't know. Do we? Do we want this to also maybe possibly have like a little bit of a shadow, or does that matter? I don't think I care. I don't think I care about a shadow. Let's make sure that this has a hover active focus. So this is our menu close. So let's make sure maybe that, so we'll say background color is transparent. So the menu close focus, menu close hover, active. That's our background. Background color gold. What do we think? I kind of want to make it maybe like our navy. And clearly these two are right up against each other. So let's make sure that our main nav has a little margin to push it down. I'm just going to do 1 rem on the top, 0 on the left and right, 0 on the bottom there. Now there's a little. Is this technically accessible? The navy against the blue. Color, contrast, checker. When in doubt. Let's see here. So here's our background. Come on. Here's the background. Hang on. I'm just going to have to grab the navy. Did I do navy or light navy? Light navy. That does not have enough contrast. does this have enough contrast? But it's the same color. Let's just make it white and invert. That's just the safest thing to do. So we'll make this white. And then we'll change the color of the SVG. So when we focus on that button, we change the SVG. When we hover, we change the SVG. And when the button is active, we change the SVG. And we'll change the stroke to blue. And then we need to transition those. So we'll transition the background color. 300 milliseconds, ease in, out. And then we'll transition the stroke. And we'll ease in, out. There we go. And then let's give that a little bit of a border radius. Like 5 pixels, just to smooth out those edges. Okay, well, there's our drawer. Now we need to make sure that this drawer is accessible. So again, I'm going to say visibility, visible. So these are the default styles, but I'm just going to define them for desktop anyway, since I'm changing them for mobile. And we want to do visibility hidden, and that keeps it hidden from a screen reader. I can also transition the visibility. So now we'll do a transition, and we'll transition the visibility, 300 milliseconds, ease in, out, and then we'll transition the transform. Transform, 300 milliseconds. I had a lot of trouble with this on my last build. Visibility, visible. Oh, we want this to be, hang on. Menu active, visibility. Visible. I had a lot of trouble with this on my last build. So here's how we test this. We can just come right here. So we're just adding and removing that class to the body. So when somebody clicks this button, we're adding and removing that class. So here's the other thing that I want. When the menu is active, I don't want this button to be visible. I don't want, so if this drawer is open and somebody is using their keyboard navigation or a screen reader, I don't want them to see the open menu button because the menu is already open. So I'm going to change the visibility when the menu is active of the open button. And that class is just menu open. So I'm going to do that here. So menu active, menu open, visibility hidden. So literally, we do 3 things for mobile navigation with a menu active class. We change the visibility and we do a transform. That's it. It has taken me a long time to like really nail this down. To like really come up with a good system. I mean, I've worked on mobile mobile navigation. I feel like I've done hundreds of websites with mobile navigation. And I don't know, I just finally made it a priority to like really sit down and come up with a system that works. It can be imperfect. Sometimes I run into situations like on the last build that we were working on, that dashboard, which I still have not sat down and come up with a good header for that. The UI Snacks dashboard that we started building, but I had so much trouble with that header. It was just like dragging on day after day after day working on that header, and I finally just had to stop. But for the most part, this is a pretty solid system. Yeah. Love it. So let's style this little guy right here, this open. And we can take this off now and let that be closed. And of course now nothing's overflowing from that container, so that's good. Yeah, I'm not sure about this for mobile. Um, this overlay over top of these images, I think that I think we can improve on this. Like maybe not make this an overlay and just have the image be separate from the overlay for mobile. That could be it might be a better strategy. We're going to work on that tomorrow. We're going to work on that tomorrow. So let's just go ahead and style this right here, which is our menu open. There's not a ton to do here. I would like it to look buttony though. Let's see. I think it could be a little smaller. Okay, so right here, menu open. And again, menu open is the button, not the SVG. I want the button to be the same size. I want the SVG to be a little bit smaller. So I'm going to say padding 0.8. I think it's 875 rems. I'm going to give it a border radius of 5 pixels, and we'll give it a background color of blue. And then we'll do the menu open SVG. Let's give this a width of 1. I don't know, 1.25 is awfully small. Let's just do 1.5. 1.5. That's going to change this to just 0.75. And then the stroke would be white. Yeah. I think it can be a little, the SVG could be bigger. I think it can be a little, the SVG could be bigger. 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 The S I would make this. I just want it to be proportional, you know what I mean? Which makes me want this to be a little bit bigger. If we know that it's just going to wrap, um, I like that. I think it could be a little bigger. So fussy. I can't help it. That looks pretty good. And then by default, I have a line height of 1.25 on my headings. I think I want to change, I often will change it to 1.1 though, occasionally. So let's do that just for this. Line height is a multiple of your font size. The browser will accept a unit like pixels or rems or ems. It is really meant to be a unitless value. Look at that. That looks balanced to me. And the fact that this would just naturally wrap is just like perfect. It's just perfection. And that feels very balanced to me. I think we could tighten up this header a little bit. I feel like maybe it doesn't need to be a rem all the way around. So what if we just did a half? That seems a little tight. And of course, here's the header. Here's the header. Here's the header wrap, and then here's the form, which is immediately below it. And we just need to make sure that we're giving, I'm going to change it back to just one rem for now, because if we make this decision to change that to 3/4, we have to do it for everything so it stays balanced. And then we just really need to make sure that this is getting pushed down because this has padding. That's the only reason we can see our search, is because this has enough padding on the hero. To show it. And then unscroll. So let's also make this sticky. the header. Let's make our header sticky. So again, I don't know that I really need to do this, but sometimes I like to do it. The default position is static, right? But if I'm going to change it, it's nice to have it change from something that's defined, even though it's the default. I know, it's the default. I'm going to do it anyways. So then maybe we do position sticky. And you really do need to put some values in here. We could even give this a little box shadow. So we'll say we'll say 0 pixels on, well, it's X, Y blur spread. So 0 on the X axis because there isn't anything showing on the X axis. 1 pixel on the Y axis, which gives it gives it a box shadow underneath it, right? And then we'll say 1 pixel blur, 1 pixel spread, and we'll do RGBA 0, 0, 0, 0 for black, and then 10% alpha transparency. And we need to make sure that's got some Z index. So we'll do 3. Oh, and clearly we need to give our header a background color of white. We'll do this up here. We should be doing that no matter what. Clearly it's transparent. So we'll say background color white. There. And you can see where that search comes down. So we just need to make sure, because it's 100% against the header wrap. We should honestly make it relative against the header, not the header wrap. And the easiest way to do that is to just remove position relative. It needs to be relative to something. It's going to be relative now to this. It's going to look for another position to be relative to. And the header, which is the grandparent, is position sticky. So now it's going to be relative to the header, which is position sticky. So there we go. So now this is pushed down to the bottom of the footer, just like that. So we obviously have some more styling to do here. But that's perfect. That's what I wanted. So, and yeah. So we need to make sure that we've got some padding on the inside of this form to push these off to the side. So we'll do that. So here's our search form. Again, I'm just going to say padding 0 for desktop, and then we're going to change that here. So I'm going to say padding 0 on the top and bottom, 1 rem on the left and right, and that should push those in. What? How dare you? Oh, is it because it's position absolute? That shouldn't matter. Oh, is it because, yeah, it's because it's position absolute. So we just need to adjust these. So you see how this is left. So we'll do our search label. So we'll say left 1 rem. There we go. And then our SVG also needs to just be pushed in. So that was our search form SVG. Right. One. And this also needs to have a background color. Background color. White. And actually, let's put this on the desktop styles right here. There we go. And honestly, that box shadow is kind of pointless, isn't it? Because it covers up, it's being covered up. So where is that? That's kind of pointless. I'm going to take that off and we're going to deal with this once we do the animation. But you can see now. So on scroll, and we should give the form a little bit of padding on the bottom. Honestly, we could just do copy that. There we go. We clearly need to adjust. Wow. We just need to adjust some of our transitions, our transforms, right? We'll do something to make this look good. And then on scroll, the search, we'll make sure that the search sort of is hidden. It's going to look great. It's going to look great. Yeah, we'll mess with that tomorrow. And Dante says, so nice. Thank you, Dante. I appreciate that. All right. Well, I think this is a good place to call it for today. Thank you to everybody who came to hang out in the chat with me. It was a quiet day, but that's all right. We got a lot of work done. It was productive. I don't think I did a hover active focus. Yeah, we need to do like a hover active focus for this. We'll do that tomorrow. We'll figure out what we're doing with the search. We will write the JavaScript for our drawer, our click event. We'll make sure that you can also hit the escape key to close the drawer. And then we'll make sure that we have this on scroll behavior. And then we'll get working on the rest of the layout to make sure it's responsive. Yeah. Yeah, so that's that. Everybody, would you do me a favor? If you haven't yet, would you be so kind as to click the like button? I would appreciate it so much. Helps the algorithm, helps me get this pushed out to more people who might be interested in this type of thing. It helps the channel grow. We have almost 3,000 subscribers. We're coming up on our second anniversary. Our second anniversary is August 11th. And yeah, the channel is, I know that it's slow. It's okay. We're just, I know that this appeals to a very small audience on YouTube, and I'm fine with that because I'm having a blast. I love making this type of content. I love streaming front-end development. I love doing these builds. I love hanging out with you all fine people in the chat. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'm here for sure Saturday and Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. I occasionally do like these little sprints during the week. So I'm going to be here for the next 4 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're going to keep working on this. And yeah, we just practice our skills, practice vanilla front end to just keep our skills fresh and because we enjoy it. And Micah says, hope to see you tomorrow. You will see me tomorrow. I hope that you will see me tomorrow. Everybody, have a great rest of your day wherever you are. I will see you tomorrow morning, and we're going to continue to work on this. I will see you later. Bye.